Hello YouTube, Sharps 1874 here, and as promised I have a story to tell you about the television show The Mallorca Files that my wife and I have watched. Now, before I get into that, yes, I've got my GOA cap on. I think everybody should be a member of GOA, because if you followed the news, they're winning lawsuits for the Second Amendment, and other organizations which I used to think were reliable haven't been doing as much. So there's my plug for GOA. I get nothing for plugging GOA. So the Mallorca Files. I thought I was a pretty good student of World War II memorabilia and the history of World War II and to some extent World War I. But I was watching this show called The Mallorca Files, and the detectives ended up with a dead body. They went to the forensic people. The forensic people said he was shot with a 9mm. And the detectives, there's thousands of 9mm. And they said, but wait, this wasn't a normal 9mm, this was a 9mm Largo. And I thought, 9mm Largo, I don't know that round. And so I did some research, and I'm going to put up on the screen a slide showing the difference between the Largo and the Luger. Okay, everyone knows the Luger. The Largo is very similar, as you could see on that slide, to the 38 ACP. See if I can get it a little bit better. And that's going to become very important here in just a minute. So, not only did they know that it was a 9mm Largo, the Mallorca Files, of course, is filmed on the island of Mallorca, which is part of Spain, or at least off the coast of Spain. And the Spanish, back in 1922, developed what they called the Astra 400. And it was, let's see, it was produced through the 1940s. I don't have that. Maybe into the late 40s it was produced. The Germans purchased 6,000 of the Astra 400s for their use, and they took them, this is after they invaded France, they took them from Spain through France, they inspected them, put their stamp on, and they put them into use. Okay, well, let's look at the Astra 400. Just happened to have one. Well, the story is I saw that video, that television show, and the next day I went back to that spot where they showed the pistol, and I said to my wife, that's kind of a neat looking gun. And she says, it is. Well, that was a go-ahead, right? So I went ahead and I picked up a pristine Astra 400. There's the Astra marking. Okay, now this has some unique features. There is a grip safety. It is unloaded. I'm going to take the mag out, but it's there's a mag safety. So that's the old style mag release. Here's the markings. And flip it around. Okay, and I want to show something here. If you look right here, that says 9mm 38. So this particular pistol was developed in 1922, but somewhere along the line, and I don't remember, you need to go to ForgottenWeapons.com. He does a video on the Astra 600, not the 400, but the story is about the same. And they decided to chamber it in 9mm Largo and 38 ACP. So that's why that says what it says. Does have the lanyard loop. And let's see, anything else that's of note. Now I can tell you from the serial numbers, and I'll put up a slide showing the serial numbers, that this particular pistol was made in 1942. And it wasn't too long after that that they stopped making these, but they had lots and lots of them, and they were using the police, they were using the military, but this is kind of interesting in the fact of the way that it disassembles. So we'll put it, we'll cock it, and this safety goes up in to hold it in place, of course. And then if you notice these serrations on the barrel, that's because this particular pistol is very much like the Baby Browning, which you've seen before, and it has the locking lugs down in the receiver. And that's how the Baby Browning works. And that's how the Astra works. So you get it cocked like this, you give this a quarter of a turn, then you release the safety, and the whole thing slides off. Now notice, here are the locking lugs. Here's the hammer. This is a hammer-fired pistol. I can't show you the hammer without putting the mag in, so I'm going to put the mag in. And I'm going to hold the hammer down and depress the trigger, and there is the hammer. And we'll cock that back. Oh, that is stiff. Okay, so no spring. So where's the spring? The spring is all inside this housing right here. And if you rotate the barrel back, everything slides to the back. I'm going to give that a try. This will be my first attempt at doing that. Try to do it on camera. Ooh, there's the spring. Now you can take the spring off by rotating this cap a quarter of a turn, and then that cap comes off, and you can take the barrel out and do all of that. So kind of a neat little pistol. Now, because we know this is unloaded, not connected, I'm just going to show you carefully the sights. And I'm not pointing it at myself, but yeah, you've just got a milled slot and the side right there. Okay, I'm going to break off right now and put the slide back in, or excuse me, put the barrel back in location, and I'll be right back. Okay, that wasn't near as bad as I thought it was going to be, but you do have to line this up just exactly so it will go in place. Once you have everything in place, that notch appears to need to be straight up and down. We're going to slide this back in. And once it's slid back in, I want to show you how this goes up in there. You do it this way. That puts us in the correct position, and then you can turn this a quarter of a turn. And it's ready to go. And if the magazine was in, I could fire the trigger and it would fire. Okay, so this is the Astra 400. Now, this one was actually, yeah, like I said, this one was built in 1942. In 1943, and this was built right after the Germans, or very shortly after the Germans bought their 6,000 of that style. Then the German engineers went down to Spain and said, hey, Astra, we don't want the Largo. By the way, Largo is the Largo surplus ammunition out there. It has corrosive primers, and there's a warning on the package, and if you shoot it, immediately clean your pistol because it's really nasty stuff. Well, the Germans went down to Spain and said, we want your same pistol, but we want it chambered in 9mm Luger. So they came up in 1943 with the Astra 600/43. 1943, yeah. It's exactly the same. Well, it's not exactly the same. It is just slightly different. Let's hold these up. You can see that the Luger is just a little bit shorter than the Largo. And that's the main difference. There might be a slight variation in the, it's hard to hold to, in the height of these things. But let's talk about this. So this is chambered in, if you can see the markings, 9mm Parabellum or 9mm Luger. It does not have the Astra symbol up here. It still has the same sights. It has the proof marks. Now, the Germans bought about 50,000 of these, but only 10,000 made it across the Spanish border into France before the Allies liberated France and cut off the supply line. So there's 50,000 of these the Nazis paid for. If you have a serial number that's above 10,000 and it's got the Nazi acceptance stamps, you got a fake. Yes, it's still an Astra 600, but it was never accepted by the Nazis. This one is well below, well, this is just below 50,000, so this is definitely one of the ones paid for by the Nazis, but this never made it into Germany. A little bit of interesting history on that. Now they did make one change. They changed the magazine, whereas the Largo magazine didn't have this little tab on it. And they have a push button here to get the clip out. So you just push the button in and the magazine slides out. And of course, it's empty. But it takes apart exactly the same way. Kind of a neat, interesting piece of history that I didn't know about. I didn't realize that that Spain furnished weaponry to the Germans in World War II. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to put this in and I'm going to click this. Okay, so I wish that I had some range footage. Now I could take this out, and I do have some, of course I have 9mm Luger all over the place. But finding non-corrosive 9mm Largo right now is impossible. My name's on the waiting list. I am waiting for dies so I can load up 38 ACP and fire this, but this is, as you noticed, this is just in pristine shape. Notice the trigger here. You notice the trigger on this guy. Yeah, it's seen some wear. So we have a pristine Astra 400, and we have an excellent condition Astra 600/43, and couldn't be more tickled. It's I'm very much looking forward to taking these out and going for their first shots. So I guess that's about all I have to say. So thanks for watching. I'm Sharps 1874. And I thought you might like to know.